Eli was just an ordinary human soldier, smart, quiet, and good at following rules. He had signed up for a peaceful mission on the alien planet Valari Prime, known for its calm environment and scientific progress. It was supposed to be an easy year. No war, no fights, just research and learning. When he arrived, everything looked strange. The skies were purple. The trees were tall and glowing. Here smelled like spice and metal. But the aliens, the Valerians, were polite and respectful. They were taller than humans, with glowing eyes and smooth blue skin. They didn't speak loudly, and they avoided touching anyone. Eli was told he'd be living in a small research facility on the edge of the capital city. There, he would study local customs and report back to Earth once a week. The only surprise was his roommate. Her name was Karen. She was a Valerian, but not like the others. She was quiet, but her eyes were sharp. Skin shimmered like ice under light. She wore dark robes and always kept her distance. When Eli first met her, she simply nodded and walked away. The facility had 2 rooms, a shared kitchen, and a long hallway between them. Everything was clean, smooth, and silent. There was a strange machine on the wall that cleaned the air, but it made a low hum that never stopped. Eli tried to make conversation. So, do you like music? He asked one evening. Karen just stared at him for a moment and then said, "Your presence is unfamiliar, but not unpleasant." That was the longest sentence she spoke that week. Still, things were peaceful. Every morning, Eli would log into the research terminal and watch recordings about Valerian history. Every night, Karen would sit in silence, meditating by a window that showed stars slowly moving across the sky. Then, one morning, something changed. The power flickered. The lights went dark for 2 seconds and came back on. The air purifier stopped, then started again. A voice came from the wall. "Alert! Atmospheric interference detected. Lockdown protocol initiated. Doors sealed." Eli frowned. "What does that mean?" Karen stood up fast. Too fast. Her breathing was heavy and her eyes glowed brighter than before. "Is this normal?" Eli asked. She didn't answer. She walked straight to her room and slammed the door. Eli tried to contact the command center, but the system showed static. No signal. No help. He waited an hour. Then 2. The silence became heavy. At night, he heard a strange sound, something soft, like whispering, like someone crying. He got up and walked to Karen's door. "Are you okay?" Kay asked. No answer. He heard her say something in her language. It was fast and soft, but he recognized one word. His name? "Karen," he called. Again. "What's going on?" A new message appeared on the wall screen. Valerian cycle. Local mating season now active. Biological changes may occur. Caution advised. Eli stared at the screen. Mating season. He suddenly remembered something he'd read during training. Valerian biology reacted strongly during this time of year, but they never gave full details, just warnings to keep distance and avoid direct contact. He stepped back. Suddenly, her door creaked open. Karen stood there, sweating, shaking, eyes wide. Her voice was low. "The system failed too early." "I was not ready." I didn't understand. "What's happening to you?" She looked away. "We are not like humans. When the season comes, our minds, our bodies, they change. I must not, I must not come near you." "Why? I can help." "No," she shouted, backing away. "You don't understand? Your scent, your presence. It calls to something inside me." Eli was speechless. Karen turned and locked herself in the bathroom. He stood in the hallway, unsure of what to do. The night was long. The next morning, she didn't come out. Eli left some food near her door and sat near the emergency panel, trying to send a signal again. Nothing outside. The sky turned red. The planet's second sun was rising. Valerian mating season was just beginning. Inside, two strangers, one human, one alien, were now locked in a small home with no escape. And Karen wasn't just fighting her biology. She was fighting herself. The door had been closed for hours. The lights in the hallway were dim. Eli sat on the floor outside Karen's bathroom, his back against the cold wall, listening to the strange silence. Then he heard it again, a soft, broken sound like someone crying. Not loud, just a whisper of pain. Eli leaned forward. Karen, no answer, only more quiet sobs. She had been locked inside since last night, ever since she told him about the Valerian mating season. Eli didn't fully understand what it meant, but he could feel that something powerful was happening to her. Something she couldn't control. Please, he said gently, talk to me. She replied in a shaky voice, muffled by the door. You should leave. I can't, Eli replied. The lockdown has sealed every exit. We're stuck here together. Karen was silent for a few seconds. Then she said, that is, ... unfortunate. I could hear her breathing slow but shaky, like she was trying to stay calm. He didn't want to scare her or push her, so he sat quietly, letting her know he was there. Time passed slowly. Eli remembered what the AI system said yesterday. Biological changes may occur. Physical contact is strongly discouraged. He pulled out his datapad and tried to search more about Valerian biology. But most of the files were restricted. He only found old stories, rumors of Valerians losing control during the season, becoming wild, even dangerous. But Karen didn't seem dangerous. She seemed afraid. Another soft sound escaped from behind the door. A sob, a whisper, a word in her language he didn't understand. Eli stood up and knocked lightly. Karen, you're not alone, okay? I'm right here. After a long pause, she spoke. You'd be afraid of me. I'm not. You should be. Eli didn't know what to say. He slid back down to the floor. He thought of her eyes last night glowing, full of emotion she tried to hide. He thought of her hands trembling as she closed the door. It wasn't anger, it was fear. Fear of hurting him. Night came again. Eli made himself a small meal from the emergency rations. He left some outside her door. She didn't open it. He wrapped himself in a blanket and tried to sleep on the couch. But just as he closed his eyes, he heard a sound that made his heart freeze. A whisper, his name, Eli. He sat up, alert. Karen, no answer. He walked slowly toward the hallway. The bathroom door was still closed. The food was untouched. He leaned in. Karen, did you call me? Nothing. It's a silence again. Suddenly, the hallway lights flickered. The air purifier let out a short, sharp beep. A voice came from the wall panel. Caution, pheromone saturation level, 43%. Human neurological effects possible. Please isolate. Eli blinked. Pheromones? What the hell? He checked his hands. They were shaking slightly. His chest felt tight, like something heavy was pressing down. The air smelled different now, sweeter, warmer, like flowers and fire. He stumbled backward and opened a vent to increase airflow. Then he took a cold shower to clear his head. By morning, he felt better, but Karen still hadn't come out. Eli stood near the door. Again, he gently knocked. Karen, you haven't eaten? You haven't rested? Please, let me help you. I am fighting it, she said from inside. Her voice was thin. My body wants what my mind fears. You think I'll judge you? I think I might hurt you. Eli lowered his voice. You won't? You don't know that? She whispered. This is not like human desire. This is nature. This is need. Once it begins, we don't think. We act. Eli stayed quiet. He tried to imagine what it must feel like to be trapped inside your own body, fighting against instincts you couldn't control. "I'll stay away, if that helps," he said gently. "No," she whispered. "It's too late. I can feel your scent in the air." My thoughts, they twist. Stilly, the bathroom door unlocked with a soft click, but it didn't open. Eli froze. Karen. No answer. He waited. Then, slowly, the door opened just a few inches through the gap. He saw her eyes bright, glowing silver. She looked exhausted, pale, but also something else. Hungry. She didn't step out. "I just wanted not to see you," she whispered. Eli didn't move. He just looked into her eyes and said softly, "I'm still here." Karen smiled, but it was a sad smile. Then the door closed again, and the lock clicked once more. Eli spent the next day building a barrier between their rooms. He found old furniture, crates, and a few storage boxes, stacked everything in the hallway, creating a wall between his side and Karen's. It wasn't perfect, but it gave them space. It gave them control, at least the illusion of it. Karen agreed to the idea. She stayed in her room, meditating, breathing deeply, and trying to calm her body. Her voice, when they spoke through the wall, was weak but calm. She told Eli the effects would pass in a few more days. She could stay isolated, but isolation wasn't easy. The scent in the air was getting stronger. The wall panel now flashed a warning every few hours. Pheromone saturation. Level 62%. Risk of cross-species. Neurological interference. Eli noticed small changes in himself, too. His thoughts drifted more often. Streams became vivid. In one of them, he saw Karen standing under the red sky, calling his name in a soft, echoing voice. When he woke up, he was sweating and confused. He took cold showers, drank extra water, tried to focus on reading, cleaning, anything, but the silence between them grew louder. That night, they spoke again through the barrier. "How are you holding up?" Eli asked. Karen's voice was soft. "I feel tired, but the worst part is the pull. It doesn't stop. Every breath reminds me of you." Eli sat with his back against the wall. "Same here." Karen hesitated. "I read a scroll once. It spoke of the first contact between Valerians and humans. They said this could happen, but they erased the records. Said it was shameful." "Why?" Eli asked. "Because two species falling for each other was seen as unnatural, dangerous." They were both quiet for a while. "I don't think it's dangerous," Eli whispered. Karen replied, "You don't know what I become when I lose control." Hours passed, late into the night. The lights flickered again. The purifier stopped for 5 seconds before restarting. Then Eli heard it crash. He jumped to his feet and ran to the hallway. The barrier was broken. The crates were scattered. Furniture had collapsed. One of the legs on the table had cracked and fallen, bringing the rest down with it. Eli's heart raced. Karen? Her door was wide open, but the room was empty. Karen. He turned around and stopped. She was standing behind him, eyes glowing silver, hair loose, skin glowing faintly in the dim light. She looked different, stronger, wilder, but she wasn't attacking. She was breathing heavily, hands clenched, trying to stay still. "I didn't mean to break the wall," she said slowly. "I just needed space, and I slipped." Eli didn't move. "It's okay." "No, it's not. I was fine. I was doing so well, okay? And then I smelled you again, and it was like something snapped inside me." She stepped closer, but stopped herself. "I keep seeing you in my mind," she whispered. "Not just now, Stis. The first week we met." Eli swallowed. "Me too." Karen looked at the broken wall, then at her own hands. "This is dangerous." Eli nodded slowly. "So, what do we do now?" "We separate again. I'll lock myself in a deeper part of the facility. There's a small storage room downstairs with no vents. I'm not letting you hurt yourself. I won't. I'll meditate, sleep, if I can. As she turned to leave, Eli stopped her. Wait. She looked over her shoulder. I trust you, he said. Wait. Even if you don't trust yourself. Karen gave him a long, unreadable look. Then she nodded once. I'll see you in 3 days, she said. If I survive this, you will, Eli replied. We both will. She left without another word. Eli watched her go. His heart felt heavy, confused, and strangely warm. Later that night, he lay on his couch, staring at the ceiling. The scent was still in the air, but this time it didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a question waiting for an answer. The next morning, Eli woke up early. The air was quiet, but heavy, like a storm that hadn't arrived yet. Karen was gone. She had moved into the old storage room in the lower level of the facility, away from vents and windows. She didn't say goodbye. She only left a message on his datapad. Don't follow me. I must be alone now. For your safety. For mine. But Eli couldn't stop thinking about her. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her standing in the hallway, trembling, eyes full of fear and something else. Something deeper. It wasn't just instinct anymore. It was connection. He tried to stay busy, cleaned the kitchen, repaired the broken barrier, made tea, but didn't drink it. His hands kept shaking. His thoughts kept drifting back to her. By noon, he decided to check on her. He walked slowly to the lower level. The air grew cooler. The lights were dim. Dust floated in the corners. It felt like no one had walked there in years. Outside the storage room door, he stopped. There was no sound inside. He knocked gently. Karen, it's me. No answer. He knocked again. I just want to see if you're okay. A few seconds passed. Then her voice came weak and tired. I told you not to come. Kai. No, Eli said. But I had to. You don't understand, she said. This is not your battle. It's mine. A part of it now, he said softly. You're not alone in this. Karen didn't speak for a moment. Then she said, I haven't slept. I haven't eaten. My thoughts are not clear. I see your face, even when my eyes are closed. I know the feeling, Eli replied. She laughed bitterly. You're only saying that because my pheromones are affecting you? No, he said. It's because you are affecting me. Silence. Then the door opened, just a little. Karen looked tired. Her eyes had lost their glow, but they were filled with emotion. Her face was pale, her lips dry. She stepped back and let him in. The room was small and cold. There was only a mat on the floor and a few blankets. The air smelled faintly of her scent sweet, but fading. You shouldn't be here, she whispered again. I might lose control. I trust you, Eli said, kneeling beside her. You fought this hard for days. I'm not leaving you now. Karen's hands trembled. I don't know how much longer I can fight. I'm losing strength. Eli took out a small container of emergency rations. Then eat. Just a little. She stared at it, then took it with shaky hands. She chewed slowly, her eyes watching his every move. I feel ashamed, she said after a while. Why? Because I was taught to never let this happen, to never show weakness during the season. And now I'm here. It's broken, in front of a human. You're not broken, Eli said gently. You're stronger than anyone I've ever met. She looked away, blinking fast. He placed a hand near hers, but not touching. You're not some wild creature, Karen. You're a person. People get scared. People need help. She slowly turned back to face him. Her voice was almost a whisper. What if I hurt you? You won't? What if I do? I'll forgive you. Karen's breath caught. For the first time, her hand reached for his just, barely touching his fingers. The contact was soft, almost nothing, but it meant everything. They sat there in silence for a long time. Fingers lightly touching, eyes full of emotions neither had words for. Outside, the wind picked up. The planet's twin moons rose in the sky, casting pale light through the cracks of the metal walls. Eli finally broke the silence. "We don't have to be afraid of this." Karen looked at him. "But what if it changes us?" "Maybe it already has," Eli said, smiling. She let out a small breath, half a laugh, half sigh. Then she whispered, "Stay, just for tonight. But if I change, promise me you'll run." Eli shook his head. "I'm not going anywhere." And he didn't. That night, he stayed beside her as she fought the storm inside her. He stayed while she cried softly in her sleep. He stayed when she reached for his hand in the dark, because she was no longer just an alien roommate. She was something more, and he wasn't afraid anymore. The room was quiet, but not peaceful. Eli sat against the wall, watching Karen as she lay curled up under a blanket. Her skin was damp with sweat. Her breathing was deep, slow, but uneven. She looked like someone trapped between sleep and a storm. He hadn't slept all night. He stayed awake, watching, waiting, worried. The air was warmer than before. The strange scent had returned, stronger than ever. Sweet, thick, heavy. It wrapped around Eli like invisible hands, pulling on his mind, fogging his thoughts. He tried to focus. He told himself to stay calm, but every second near her made it harder. He touched the small device clipped to his wrist. It was a sedative. Injector's standard issue for off-world missions. It could slow heart rate, reduce sensory reaction, even dull emotional responses. He had been saving it, just in case. Now, he thought, maybe it was time to use it. His hands trembled as he activated the device. Click, hiss. The cold liquid entered his bloodstream. At first, nothing changed. Then, slowly, his head cleared. The warmth in his chest faded. His thoughts became sharper, more focused. The fog in the air felt distant now, like a dream. He looked at Karen again. She was still, but not asleep. Her eyes were open bright silver, glowing faintly in the dark, and she was staring at him. "I can smell the change," she whispered. "You did something to your body." Eli nodded slowly. "I used a sedative to protect both of us." Karen sat up, moving carefully. "Clever, but it won't help forever." "I know," he said, just long enough to think clearly. She looked at him for a long time, her expression unreadable. "Then think carefully, Eli, because I feel it now, fully, the instincts, the need." Her voice was different, lower, more raw. "I can hear your heartbeat. I can taste the air around you. I want to be near you so badly it hurts." Eli's heart beat faster, despite the sedative. Karen's hands were clenched tightly in her lap. Her body was tense, like she was holding back something wild inside her. "You should go," she said. "Now, while you still can." But Eli didn't move. "I told you before," he said quietly. "I'm not leaving you." She shook her head. "I'm not Karen anymore. Not fully. This body, it belongs to the season now. It wants what it wants." "I don't care," Eli replied. "You're still you." "No," she whispered. "Not for long." Suddenly, her breathing changed. She stood up too fast, almost stumbling. Her skin shimmered with heat. Eyes glowed brighter. Her fingers flexed, claws showing slightly at the tips. She stepped toward him. "Karen," Eli said, carefully. "I can't stop it," she said, voice trembling. "I'm trying, but I can't." And then, in a heartbeat, she was right in front of him. She grabbed his shoulders. Her eyes locked on his. Her body was shaking, and then she kissed him. It wasn't gentle. It was wild, desperate, like a storm crashing into his soul. Every thought in his head vanished. Her touch burned through the sedative. Skin was hot like fire, her breath short, her heart racing against his chest. For a few seconds, Eli let it happen. He kissed her back, but then he pushed her away, hard. She stumbled backward, eyes wide in shock. She fell to the floor, gasping. Eli was breathing heavily, shaking all over. "I'm sorry," he said, voice cracking. "Had to stop. You're not thinking clearly." Karen didn't speak. She looked at her hands, her claws, her trembling arms. Then she broke down. "I told you to leave," she whispered. "I begged you." "I know. And now I've broken the laws of my people. I've broken myself." Eli knelt beside her. "You're not broken. You're just lost in something powerful. But it's not your fault." She didn't answer. She just sat there, head bowed, tears falling silently down her cheeks. "I'll stay," Eli said softly. "Not to fight you, but to stand beside you." Karen slowly looked up. Her voice was hollow. "You made a terrible decision, Eli. You should have run." But Eli shook his head. "Sometimes the worst decision is the right one." The morning after the kiss, the air inside the storage room was still and cold. The scent that had once clouded Eli's thoughts had started to fade. Baba, the heat of the mating season was finally slowing down. Karen sat on the floor with her back to the wall, knees pulled to her chest. She hadn't spoken since the night before. Eli sat across from her, silent, waiting. Neither of them knew what to say. What had happened between them was more than instinct. It had felt real too real, okay? And that scared both of them. Finally, Karen broke the silence. "I can feel it leaving," she whispered. "The urges, the pressure. It's fading now." Eli nodded slowly. "It's good, right?" She didn't look at him. "It should be, but I'm not sure anymore." "Do you mean?" Karen raised her eyes, meeting his. "When I kissed you, it wasn't just instinct. Something inside me wanted you, not because of biology, but because of you." Eli felt his chest tighten. He'd been trying to understand his own feelings too. He had blamed the pheromones, the stress, the long isolation. But deep down, he knew. He cared about her, even now, as the season faded and the air cleared. "That feeling didn't go away. It wasn't just instinct for me either," he said softly. "I've been trying to tell myself it was all science, chemicals, triggers. But the truth is, I stayed because I wanted to." Karen's eyes glistened. "Even when I warned you, even after I lost control, I saw the real you, Karen," Eli said, "and I didn't want to leave her." She stood slowly and walked to the small window near the ceiling. Outside, the sky was lighter. The red clouds were breaking, and 2 faint moons floated above the horizon. "Our people won't understand," she whispered. "Maybe they don't need to," Eli said, standing beside her. "Maybe we don't need to explain it. Just need to accept it." Karen turned toward him. "What are we now, Eli?" He paused. "I don't know. But I know what we're not. We're not enemies. We're not victims. And we're not confused anymore." A soft voice from the wall panel interrupted them. "Warning lifted. Lockdown ending. External systems restoring in 4 hours." Karen exhaled. "They're coming back." "Good," Eli said. "We can leave this room." "No," she said sharply. "You don't understand. When they come, they'll separate us." "Why?" "'Cause they'll assume I lost control. I crossed the line with the human. There are strict rules. They may even want to wipe my memory." Eli felt cold. "What?" "It's a tradition to protect honor. If an elite female bonds during the cycle with anyone unapproved, they see it as a shameful accident." "But this wasn't an accident," Eli said firmly. "No, it wasn't," Karen replied. "That's what scares me." They stood in silence, the reality sinking in. Eli reached into his bag and pulled out a small black Cuba memory recorder. "Then we need to make them remember." Karen blinked. "What is that?" "It's a memory backup tool. Eli explained. I copied everything, every message, every file, every voice log, including what we just said. Karen looked stunned. That's dangerous. I know, Eli said. But if they erase your memory, I'll still have the truth. I'll remind you, even if it takes years. Karen touched his arm. You'd really do that? I already have, he said with a soft smile. She stepped closer, gently placing her forehead against his. You are the only human I've ever let near me, and I didn't just let you in. I wanted you there, he whispered. I'm not going anywhere. They stayed like that, in stillness, forehead to forehead. Heart to heart, the moment was fragile, yet strong. It wasn't desire anymore. It was something deeper. Later that night, as the system came back online and the outside doors unlocked, Karen and Eli stood side by side, knowing the next step might separate them forever. But something had already changed. Something neither the scientists, nor the laws, nor the history books could explain. The sun on Valari Prime rose quietly that morning. 2 moons still hovered in the sky as a ship from the capital landed near the research facility. It was sleek, silver, and silent. Inside the ship were 4 Valerian officials' guards and 1 high-ranking elder. They had come to bring Karen home. Can't take Eli away. Karen stood beside Eli at the entrance, her hands clenched tightly by her sides. Her face was calm, but her heart was not. Eli could feel it too. The moment they had feared was here. The elder, tall and dressed in a dark robe, stepped forward and bowed slightly. Karen, your season has passed. You must now return to be examined and cleansed. Eli frowned. Cleansed. The elder ignored him. Karen lifted her chin. I understand, elder, but I will not allow anyone to touch my memory. One of the guards stepped forward. It is law. Your bonding was unapproved. It must be erased. Karen stood her ground. Then the law is broken. The elder's eyes narrowed. You were alone with him during the cycle. You bonded under nature's influence. You cannot trust your thoughts. My thoughts are my own, Karen replied. And my feelings are real. Eli took a step closer to her. She didn't lose control. She chose me, and I chose her. The guards raised their weapons, slightly not to shoot, but to warn. Karen raised a hand, stopping Eli from saying more. She looked at the elder. If I walk onto that ship, and you take away what I feel for him, you erase the best part of me. The elder spoke coldly. You are not thinking clearly. You need rest, and you need the memory wipe. You'll be thankful later. No, she said. I'll be empty. One of the guards turned to Eli. And you, human? You will return to your command center, alone. You are not meant to stay here beyond the mission. Okay. Eli reached into his bag and held up the memory cube. I have recorded everything, our voices, our feelings. You erase her memory. I'll bring this to the council. That's illegal, the guard hissed. And what you're doing isn't right either. Eli snapped. The elder stepped forward again. His tone softened. Young man, even if you feel love, it won't last. She is alien. You are human. These bonds fade. Eli looked at Karen. She was already looking at him. If it fades, Eli said, let it fade naturally, not because someone pressed a button. The elder stared at both of them for a long time. Silence was deep. Finally, he sighed. Then there is one way, Karen blinked. What way? You will leave Valari Prime, the elder said. It's together, alone, to live on one of the outer moons, far from our society. You may not return. You will be forgotten by the records, but you may keep your memories. Karen and Eli exchanged glances. Exile. A life in isolation, but together. Karen nodded slowly. I accept. Eli smiled. Me too. The elder nodded once. Very well. You have chosen your path. Later that day, A small shuttle was prepared for them. No ceremony, no farewell. Quiet skies and the soft sound of engines humming. Karen stood inside the shuttle, looking back at the planet she once called home. Eli stood beside her, holding her hand. "We're really doing this," he said. "We are," she replied, "and I'm not afraid anymore." "Do you regret anything?" Karen leaned into him. "Only that I didn't kiss you sooner." They both smiled as the shuttle rose into the sky. The memory cube blinked in Eli's pocket, still safe, still full of everything they had shared. They didn't need permission to love. They just needed the courage to remember. And they chose to remember, no matter what came next.